So far we have seen the RDD, but in reality, in real world, we just rarely use the single values. We usually use them key values. For example, let's say we are using the user, and the user has the usual user ID, name, and so on. We need to group them by ID, or we need to group them by age, and similar. So for that, we are using the pair RDD. For example, let's take this very simple example. Here we have an array of the fruits, and what we need to do is what we are doing here, right? We are creating first we are creating a Java RDD, and from that, what we do, we are creating a pair RDD, and we are mapping that how many, for example, for each fruit here, we are mapping a number, right? How many times it's repeated. So it's repeated only once here, so we are just printing that the once. So we are just printing that once. We are assigning one, and we are printing that result. Let's run it. Let's see that it works as expected. After that, we will do some operations on it. So let's run this one. So what we see here is we have apple. We are assigning it one. So we are creating a pair here, right? So for each fruit, we are creating a pair: apple one and the banana and so on, right? So for each fruit we are creating, so we are assigning a value integer 1. So how is it useful, right? How we are using that in real world? For example, one very simple example that also we have seen earlier, which is that the word count. So what we do here is let's say that we have the list of the words. For example, that we have just sentence right here. We have Apache Spark is the fast, and the Spark is powerful, big data is fun, or some random text here. So what we do here is we are creating the first operation that we do here, right? We are creating a pair RDD, and we are assigning for each word a number. For example, for the Apache, as we have done earlier, right? So we are creating a pair, so word and the number. And after that, what we do is we are reducing that by the key. So what's that mean? It means that if the word is, so we are just summing up how many times the word is repeated. For this example, Spark is repeated twice. It will reduce that count to 2. So Spark will be, for the Spark, the value will be 2. Let's run it and see. So for example, here, let's run it. And here, so you can see here, right? So for each word is repeated once, but except the Spark. Spark is repeated twice, and the is repeated 3 times. Is repeated 3 times. That's the first use of it. So for example, we can calculate reduce by the key, which means that we can calculate how many times word is repeated, or let's say that we have a user data, how many times the user how many times a user appears in a certain data set, and so on. So the next one is, let's take a look at the another operations that we can do here, right, with the pair RDD. So pair RDD, so again, we have here a list of the fruits and how many of those fruits we have, right? So for example, here we have apple, banana, apple, and they are repeated. And the first thing that we do here, we are grouping them, right? So we are grouping them, but for example, we will have apple 50 and 70. So we are grouping them as a string, and as a value, we are grouping the list, right? Another list which will have 50, for example, for apple, it will have 50, 70, for banana 30, and so on. And the next operation is we are summing up whatever the value we have, we are reducing by the key, right? So we are summing up those values. For example, here, the total number of the apples will be 120. And the next operation is that we are sorting them alphabetically, right? So we are sorting alphabetically whatever result we have. Let's run and see that what is the exact result here. So let's go over them one by one, right? So let's go over them one by one. And the first one is, first operation that we should do here. The first operation is we are just counting how many times each word is. So for example here, right? The first one is in the first iteration, we are just grouping them by the key. So for example, for orange, we have orange is just 60, right? For the apple, we have two values. For banana, we also have two values, and so on. So the next one is reducing by the key. So we are adding up, reducing by the key, we are adding up these numbers, right? So we are summing up how many total number of the apples we have and how many total number of banana and the oranges we have. So let's go and see that. Let's go and see that. So here we have orange 60, and the banana we have summed up, and the banana we have summed up, and also apple we have summed up. And the last one is we are sorting them by the alphabetically, meaning that the apple will be first, and the banana second, and the banana second, and the orange third, right? That's exactly what we see here. So that's the second thing that we can do with the pair RDD. So another operation that we can do is joins. So here what we have, right? So we are creating again two lists with the first one is the ID and the student name, and the second one is that the ID and the subject. So for example, we have courses here, math, science, and the history, and we want to know which student is taking which class, right? So for that, we are joining them by the key. So as a result, it should return us that the Alice is taking math because the ID 1, and the Bob is taking science, right? For Charlie, there is no course because we don't have any value, because we don't have any course with the ID of 1. So what we do here, we are creating two pair RDDs, and after that we are in joining them, right? So we are in joining them. So we are joining to the student, we are joining the course RDD, and we are returning the result. Let's run it and see that how it works. So here what we have, right? So for Alice, we have the ID is 1, and Alice is taking math, as we can see here. And the second one is Bob. For Bob is taking the science.